It's Monday, February 9th, 2026, and America is living in two completely different seasons right now. If you're anywhere east of the Appalachians, you just survived one of the most brutal weekends of cold this country has seen in years. Wind chills cratered to 45 below in upstate New York, surface temperatures dropped below zero across New England, and the mid-Atlantic saw record-breaking lows that haven't been touched in decades. But starting today, the great thaw begins. A massive ridge of high pressure is pushing warmth eastward across the plains, and by this afternoon, some places along I-80 in Iowa and Nebraska will be flirting with 70 degrees, nearly double the normal February high. That temperature contrast is extraordinary, and it's setting the stage for what could be one of the most eventful stretches of weather we've seen in months. There's a Valentine's Day storm signal that keeps getting louder, a Pacific fire hose about to drench the snow-starved West, and a polar vortex that's splitting apart above our heads right now. Let me take you through everything, city by city. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. First, let's talk about this cold because what happened over the weekend was dangerous. Wind chills plunged to -30 across interior New England, -20 in the DC and Philadelphia corridor, and as low as -45 near Albany. Cape Cod and Long Island dealt with near whiteout conditions Saturday, but relief is arriving fast. Improving conditions are spreading into the Ohio and Tennessee valleys today, with highs climbing into the 40s and 50s across the interior and 60s to 70s further south and west. Now here's where it gets wild. The Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10-day outlook paints nearly the entire lower 48 above normal, with much above normal warmth from Dallas to Minneapolis. But below-average temperatures are building along the west coast. That's the trough bringing the west its first serious moisture in weeks. And that boundary in the middle of the country is where all the storm action is going to set up. Both the European and GFS models agree something significant is forming around Valentine's Day, but the track of this low is going to decide everything. Who gets snow, who gets ice, who gets severe storms, and who just gets a cold rain. The European model is showing a powerful 983 millibar low tracking up toward the northeast, potentially delivering a major snow event from Pennsylvania through New England. The GFS has been wobbling. One run shows it tracking way south with just rain. The next run brings it closer to a Euro-like solution with snow and ice across the Carolinas northward. The ensembles split roughly 50-50 on wintry weather for the interior southeast, with higher confidence in mountain snow. This is a classic setup where a small shift in the storm track changes everything for millions of people. Let me break down what every major city needs to know, region by region. Northeast, New York City. You woke up to brutal cold this weekend with wind chills near zero and gusts over 30. Today begins the warm-up. Expect highs climbing from the low 20s today into the upper 30s by Wednesday and potentially the mid-40s by Thursday. But here's the bigger story. The European model is painting a monster low-pressure system tracking right toward you by Valentine's weekend. If that verifies, snow probabilities for the Tug Hill Plateau, Adirondacks, and Green Mountains are running 30 to 70% for over 4 inches. Greater NYC has 30 to 50% ice probabilities on the warm side of that system. Boston, record lows were possible yesterday with highs running 20 to 30 degrees below normal. You'll warm into the 30s by midweek, but a coastal low development is already showing snow banding potential into eastern Maine by Tuesday night into Wednesday, with 30 to 50% probabilities for over 4 inches along the entire Maine coast. If the Valentine's Day system bombs out like the European suggests, Boston to Portland could be looking at a significant snow event. Philadelphia, extreme cold warnings were in effect all weekend. The warm-up pushes you into the mid-30s by Tuesday, possibly near 40 by Thursday. But Tuesday afternoon brings a warm air advection plume through upstate New York with a wintry mix, and northern PA through southern NY has 30 to 50% icing probabilities. Washington, D.C., highs in the 20s this weekend with lows in the single digits. You'll claw back toward 50 by midweek. February is historically D.C.'s snowiest month, and 3 to 7 inches for the full month remain very much in play. The NWS says wintry impacts are possible on the north side of the Valentine system, but details remain highly uncertain. A stronger storm system may impact the DC area beginning Thursday, with models split on whether it delivers. Southeast. This region is still recovering from January's catastrophic storm that killed over 153 people and left more than 1 million without power. Charlotte. You just dug out from nearly 12 inches of snow. The melt accelerates this week with highs pushing into the 40s Tuesday and low 50s by Wednesday. But don't put the shovels away. The European model shows a Valentine's Day low tracking directly over the western Carolinas and Atlanta. In that scenario, Charlotte sits in the cold rain zone with mid-30s and a 20 to 30% chance of light snow accumulation. The Euro ensembles show roughly 10 to 15 out of 50 runs producing measurable snow in Charlotte. Atlanta, the European, has this low tracking right over you, which means cold rain in the city. But storms are possible to the south where warmer air gets pulled up, and the mountains of North Georgia have a 30 to 40% chance of wintry accumulation. Nashville. Power was just fully restored today after more than 235,000 homes and businesses lost electricity. Highs will climb into the 50s this week, but the Valentine system could bring another round of rain and potentially ice, depending on cold air wedging. Never doubt the wedge in the southeast. It can always come in stronger than models show. Raleigh. If the European track holds, you're looking at a cold rain transitioning to potential wintry mix, especially from Asheville eastward along the I-40 corridor. Asheville specifically has the highest snow signal in the region. The European ensembles average about 2.5 inches, with over 50% of runs showing accumulation. Midwest and Great Lakes. Chicago. You went from wind chills of -32 just 2 weeks ago to what's about to feel like early spring. Expect highs surging from the single digits into the upper 30s by Wednesday and potentially near 45 by Thursday. But that warmth is fuel. A clipper system tracks through the upper Midwest early this week, bringing light snow and a wintry mix. The WPC shows 20 to 50% snow probabilities for over 4 inches across Michigan's far northern lower peninsula and eastern upper peninsula, with 40 to 70% icing probabilities from the Wisconsin-Michigan border southeast across the lower peninsula. When the Valentine system develops, Lee cyclogenesis over the high plains could drive accumulating snow across the upper Midwest and Great Lakes around February 16th through 18th. NOAA has this area flagged at 20 to 30% probability for snowfall exceeding 4 inches. Detroit, a wintry mix is likely Tuesday into Wednesday as warm air advection collides with the deep cold that's been locked in. Michigan remains flagged for 50 to 60% above normal February snowfall. Buffalo, the lake effect machine keeps running. Minneapolis, the swing is staggering, from -39 wind chills 2 weeks ago to highs potentially near 50 by midweek. Des Moines could hit 70 today. The average high is 32. That's not a typo. Cleveland and Milwaukee, both in the crosshairs of the Clipper early this week and the larger Valentine system later. Plains and South Central. Dallas, you survived single-digit wind chills during the January storm. This week, you could touch 60. When this Valentine's low sweeps over the Rockies, the clash between warm, unstable air and incoming cold could produce serious weather. The GFS shows a big-time low forming over Louisiana by Saturday. Severe weather on the southeast flank, heavy snow on the north side. Kansas City and Oklahoma City, mid-50s this week, both sitting in the battleground zone. A moderate risk of high winds is posted for the central southern high plains from February 15th through 17th, with both ensembles showing an expansive 999 millibar mean low over the high plains by February 16th. Houston, warmth holds with highs in the 60s to low 70s, but Gulf moisture feeding into the system could bring heavy rain and severe weather from Louisiana through Alabama late Saturday into Sunday. West. The pattern change the West has been begging for is finally here. A Pacific system is moving onshore right now across Washington and Oregon. The Cascades and Bitterroot ranges are looking at feet of snow. The WPC shows 50 to 80% probabilities for over 6 inches across the Sawtooths, Bitterroots, and all western Montana ranges. By Wednesday, moisture hits California with moderate to heavy rainfall along the coast and Sierra snow. Then a stronger trough dives down the west coast by next weekend. NOAA has issued a high risk of heavy snow for the Sierra Nevada, February 15th through 16th, moderate risk for the Cascades and Desert Southwest through the 17th, and moderate risk of heavy precipitation for coastal California. Los Angeles and San Francisco expect meaningful rain with mountain snow improving dramatically. Denver, Colorado is tracking its worst snowpack on record, but accumulation chances finally arrive this week. Seattle and Portland, the fire hose is aimed right at you. Looking beyond Valentine's Day into February 16th through 20th, the pattern stays amplified. NOAA flags slight risk of heavy snow across the Cascades, Sierra, Rockies, and Great Basin through February 21st. Lee cyclogenesis brings accumulating snow potential to the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. And the polar vortex, confirmed splitting following a sudden stratospheric warming event, is the wild card. The MJO is temporarily shielding us from the worst cold, which is why this warm-up is happening. But that interference fades. Late February into early March could see the cold come roaring back. Bottom line, the East thaws out this week, but a Valentine's Day storm is loading up with snow, ice, and severe weather potential depending entirely on storm track. The West finally gets its moisture, and the polar vortex collapse means nobody should be putting away their winter gear yet. Stay safe out there, and I'll be back with updates as this system takes shape.